All right, welcome everyone to session 162 of the Darkening of Mirkwood. When last we left our heroes, the heroes convened in the halls of the Elven King, and at the request of Prince Legolas, the heroes of the Barding Civil War went in search of the Mirkwood dragon, whom they learned was being drawn almost against her will towards Dol Guldur. Coming upon the path of the dragon, they followed it until they reached, for actually like 2 or 3 weeks, through the forest of Mirkwood, which has grown increasingly dangerous with the waning of the Elven King's magic. They eventually arrived at the during the process of following the dragon, they entered a glade where Prince Ingold of the Woodmen appeared to be holding court. However, this turned out to be an illusion by none other than Tulkin the Weaver, the last of the remaining children of Shelob, who, having herself been badly wounded by the dragon and the dragon's passing in wrath, was attempting to lure the heroes in and devour them. After a brutal fight with Tulkin's spawn and with the wild men who served her, the heroes managed to carry the day, bringing an end to the last of the children of Shelob. And they continued their journey, although right after they cleared out the nest, they rescued an elf. They rescued an elf by the name of Beorn's best friend in the entire world.
Evil Jerkbutt.
Evil Jerkbutt. No, that's not his name.
That's the translation now.
Alaris the Searcher. Alaris the Searcher, this...
It's Elvish for Evil Jerkbutt.
Is Elvish
exactly. In the Sindarin.
Yes. In the high speech, Evil Jerkbutt. Alaris the Searcher was as an elf, once one of Thranduil's march wardens, but since then had given his life wandering in search of some long lost treasure, which turned out to be Gwyndor's lamp. Spoilers. And they freed him, and he agreed to help them slay the dragon in return for some kind of favor down the line. The party agreed to this, and he led them to the barrow of Munin, son of Nefstan. The company awoke the spirit of Nefstan and attempted to bargain away the dragon-slaying spear from him that Munin had been buried with. However, they were not able, or rather not willing, to meet the wraith of Nefstan's demands, and chose instead to dig in and simply steal the spear. Consequences be damned. That said, they headed to the Skybridge Oak, where they were able to set up an ambush in preparation for the coming of the dragon. And as the dragon came on, they left from their hiding places to attack the creature. Unfortunately, it was at that moment that the vengeful spirit of Munin took control of the wielder of his spear, which in this case happened to be Gwyndor. And for several rounds, Gwyndor, possessed by the wraith of Nefstan, Munin, son of Nefstan, attacked his companion Hildewara, who was at that time the werewolf of Mirkwood. In the ensuing chaos, Hildewara was bitten in half, Gwyndor was crushed to death, and Gladwyn the Elven Maid was locked in place, frozen by the gaze of the dragon until she turned into a statue of white marble. Voronway was also knocked unconscious by the dragon's venom and was dying, but was rescued from the battle by Margaret, who fled with her and a sample of the dragon's venom. Fled with him and a sample of the dragon's venom, taking the sample back to the halls of King Thranduil. And that is where we're going to pick up tonight. So as I told you guys, we're not going to play out the journey back. you sort of just follow the path that you come along, and eventually, after a few more perils and dangers, the two of you reach the halls of Thranduil, and the Elven King's apothecaries begin to attempt to formulate an antidote to the venom, which has rendered the Elven King comatose for quite some time. So what we're going to do will be our Fellowship Phase undertakings. These will only be for survivors of the previous adventuring year, which is literally just Margaret and Beorn way. So this should be the fastest Fellowship phase ever. Okay, so you guys can pick your year-end Fellowship Phase undertaking, and then we'll do weal and woe rolls for the two of you. We'll do our holding rolls, and then we'll kind of get on into.
What about Solmander?
Solmander. So Fellowship phases are for those who played in the previous adventure. So like everyone's got characters hanging around the world. Solmander does have one Fellowship Phase undertaking coming to him from the previous adventure, though, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was not here to do that Fellowship Phase.
Yeah, we can do that now as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I would like to heal corruption, Richard.
Yep.
By rolling for song.
I mean, don't feel like you have to. I don't want you to feel like you're boxed in. So you have to do one thing when you'd rather do something else.
So let's see. So just song. Here we go. Well, that was nice.
What'd you get there?
11.
Oh.
Total?
It could be worse. It could be an I guess.
Could be worse. Could be an I guess. Is basically the motto of this campaign.
Well,
there are 11s and then there's 11s.
This is going to be fun because he doesn't
Welcome to the spiral.
He doesn't have a whole lot of hope. This is going to be very interesting.
I'm excited.
If we can manage to save the hope, I believe that you can use company hope to add to your hope. Or maybe that was an incorrect application of it. But if we don't spend the company hope, you might be able to use that.
All right, Borenway, how are you spending your Fellowship Phase?
So the evil buttface, or whatever his name was,
I'm sorry.
He took the lamp and disappeared in the middle of our battle, right? And we know that his girlfriend was the one who was killed by she was the elf skeleton that we found outside the lair. Well, I am concerned that he probably wants me dead. Maybe because I'm the werewolf. So I'm not going to clear Shadow because we got to keep this interesting somehow. But I want to find out if I can. I want to search for answers. Wait, first of all, I better check what that is. Search for answers is what skill? It's riddle or lore. Okay. So I want to search for answers and see if I can find out anything about any rumors of his whereabouts or what he's up to.
All right. Give me a lore roll. All right. Nice.
Always good to have a nemesis.
All right, give me a D12. Yeah, give me a D12 roll. Okay. Well, 2 is not awesome. However, you do get to add +2 for your great success. That'll get you a 4. So long ago, as men reckon time, Polaris was. So this is basically like you start searching through the Elven King's old records and things like that, and you're able to sort of piece together big things based on things that he said, and then some of the records you're able to find. Long ago, as men reckon time, Elorus the Searcher was a part of a company of elves, the leader of a company of elves that set forth from the woodland realm on a quest of great secrecy to the Emin Duir, the mountains of Mirkwood. Now, what they sought varies by the teller of the tale. Some claim that they were to recover one of King Oberfur's lost treasures. Others believe that they were chosen to end one of the great spiders. Your guess, based on the context of the theft of the lamp from Gwyndor and everything else, is that so there were the two great lamps of the Elven King's realm, of King Oberfur's realm. One of them was the one that a previous company found. I don't remember if you were even playing with us then or not, Augusta, but was found destroyed in the lair of the werewolf of Mirkwood in the mountains of Mirkwood, deep in the forest. The other is the lamp of Balthi, which was actually stolen by the wayward elves and then later recovered by Warsong and Radagast the Brown and some other folks. So your guess is, though, that there was a third lamp, probably somewhere up in the Grey Mountains, and that's what he had been sent in search of. But regardless of what his mission was, everyone agrees on 2 points. The mission failed utterly, and Alaris was the sole survivor of the doomed quest. Alaris was found months later, poisoned and raving, his hair white, his eyes wild, near the borders of the Woodland realm. And to this day, as far as you know, he's spoken to no one save King Thranduil himself of what had befallen him. And when he was sufficiently recovered, he quit the halls of the Wood Elves, wandered north into the Grey Mountains, and has not actually, until very recently, been seen in Mirkwood since. So as far as where he is, it's a little difficult to say. Your guess is that probably having found the treasure that he was looking for, he would have returned to the Grey Mountains. Although what he would be seeking to do at this point is a little unclear. Okay.
So when we found him in that cave, it wasn't quite far enough north to the Grey Mountains, but it was sort of in that area.
It's sort of under the Grey Mountains.
Yeah. Under, not in like south. You mean south of?
Mm-mm.
Oh, were we? Okay, we were in the Grey Mountains then.
Mm-hmm. You were literally underneath the Grey Mountains. Yeah. Okay. All right, PJ. So we're going to rewind the clock a little bit. This is PJ's fellowship phase from the previous year that he didn't get a chance to play out because he wasn't here for our in-person game. So PJ, what would you like to do for that particular fellowship phase undertaking?
The courtship thing that we were talking about earlier.
All right, so you've got a young Easterling lass.
Yes.
Who you would like to court. So tell us about her. Does she live out east, or is she like one of the Easterlings living in Lake Town?
In Lake Town.
Okay. All right. Do you have her name written down?
Raza.
Over and over and over in his notebook.
Little hearts and like star things around it.
Okay. And sorry, say it again.
Raza.
Raza.
R-A-Z-A.
All right, Raza. All right. Very good. So let me pull up my courtship rules. So here's the first question is, are you going about this courtship in a clandestine way, or is it like everything's above board?
What? Oh.
In other words, are you trying to go through her parents, or are you just going directly to her?
Well, I think with the way I have it wrote out, it would be directly to her.
Okay.
Partly due to like my parents and her parents, like would have nothing to do with us due to previous years, to the past year.
Roll a d6, PJ.
As a dad of girls of marriable age, that was a really sketchy tactic there, PJ. Just saying.
By the way, Augusta, I had to replace a lost pen for the first time in several years. So I got a blue one and I filled it with purple ink just to be.
I think you need.
Sure.
I think you really need to try the Twisby Eco.
Yeah?
I love it.
I might try it. I'm really. This one is writing just beautifully. But I'll have
These
to.
ones, the nibs can be a little variable. This one's a little scritchy, but it holds a ton of ink. Like I've been using my Lamy Safari for taking notes this week, and it's run out of ink way faster than normal. I mean, like to the point where I'm like, yeah, if I were writing a lot, I'd probably get annoyed with how fast I have to fill this up.
Okay. So Solomonder, you are kind of kicking back, resting in. Let's see, you're from Lake Town, right, Solomonder?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm from Lake Town.
Right. Sorry, you played a long string of bardings, and I have to kind of like get that out of my head now.
I think Baldur was actually supposed to be from Lake Town, but he accidentally became a Barding somehow.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so you're just sort of kicking back, enjoying a nice
Illicit relationship.
You're enjoying a nice sort of evening by the piers when this old woman kind of shuffled and bent over, kind of shuffles in front of you with basket under one arm, heading towards the wharf. And as she does so, she kind of like stumbles forward and drops a letter into your lap as she kind of shuffles past. She keeps going about 20 or 30 yards down the wharf until she just sort of stops and looks out of the water.
I look at the letter.
Okay. So you open it, and inside the letter, written in the runes such as the men of Lake Town and Dale use, but in a very flowing hand, a little almost too fluid for runic writing. You read the following short yet passionate missive. It says, "O moon of my sky, I am longing to see you tonight and to feel the warm touch of your tender embraces. I've sent my old maid, Yivkis, to fetch you. In her basket, she has clothes such as the women of my people wear. You will don these clothes, and she will sneak you in where I will be waiting for you. Come quickly. I long for your touch."
Well, why not? So, what do I need to roll for this?
So are you going to go over to the woman and ask for the clothes?
Yes. I mean, might as well be adventures. We only got 3 adventures left, or 4.
All right. So you walk over to this old woman where she's sort of standing looking over at the water, and you sort of touch her shoulder to get her attention. She turns at you very swiftly, actually, and kind of glares at you with these very like dark, beady eyes. Kind of looks you up and looks you down, gives kind of a disapproving shake of her head, and hands you the basket.
I take the basket and put the disguise on.
Are you putting it on just out in the middle of the streets?
No. I'm gonna find somewhere more private to put it on.
All right. So, so you kind of head over to an alley where it seems like a narrow place between these 2 buildings, and you think you're going to be pretty safe if you change here. As you open the basket, you find in it there's a veil. There is a sort of a silk woman's brassiere. There is, along with a little bit of stuffing. There's a pair of sort of baggy kind of harem pants, and a pair of silk shoes, and then there's a cloak. It's a very sort of a light, lacy women's cloak.
All right then. So I guess I'll put those on however he would.
So you have to take the clothes you're wearing off,
Mm-hmm.
and then put these on. Just kind of. Get everything adjusted.
Okay, so he does that. He puts the disguise on.
All right. Okay. So you step out. Give me a. Give me a. I don't know if there's a precedent for this in Tolkien, but it happens all the time in sagas, so I'm gonna run with it. Give me a.
That's right. There's the one where they dress Thor up, and he's supposed to marry this girl so that
the whole
Loki
thing.
he can. Don't they have to steal his hammer back or something?
Yeah, he has to marry this giant because the giant stole his hammer. It's the whole thing.
That seems
so-
like a metaphor.
I know, right? It does. Give me a stealth roll for the efficacy of your disguising yourself as a woman.
What's the DC?
TN's going to be 16 because you're not a woman.
Gonna be honest, I'm not sure if you pass or like if I want you to pass or fail this.
I know. Hot digging dog.
You are so
Well, even if I'm not wearing, I don't think I'll be able to pass that one.
All right. Solmander, you're not a small man. And as you step out, this giant blonde Northman wearing a silk brassiere that is about like half your size, with some like little bits of stuffing still kind of peeking out from underneath it, and a cloak drawn around your shoulders, and these shoes that are way too small and are pinching your feet. You try to like swing your hips a little bit as you walk. It's not good. It is just really not great. And the old woman looks you up and down, shakes her head again, mutters something under her breath you cannot understand, but you're pretty sure it's not complimentary. And she leads you to the Easterlings Quarter, the Merchants Quarter, on the northwestern side of Lake Town. Okay.
Wow.
All right. So when you arrive at the house, and of course, these are Lake Town is a city built on piers, right? And so the garden is not so much it's not like a garden per se, but it is sort of a walled, partitioned area off to the side of the merchant's house. And there are like potted plants and things like that there. Nobody's really like planting, trees or anything like that, but there is some greenery back there. And there's a high wall around it with access control.
I know that reference. In fact, I heard the song in one of the customer's cars when I was driving it to the one.
With access controlled by a small white metal gate. And there are 2 large Easterling guardsmen standing at this gate with curved blades at their sides, arms folded across their chests. As you approach.
No.
What's your play?
Oh dear.
Okay. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that while you guys just listen to this.
Is there any feasible way to sneak around these guys?
What do you mean feasible? There's a high fence, probably about 12 feet.
Uh-huh.
There's a small white gate. You're dressed like a woman, and you're walking like this old lady's leading you up to the gate. So like you gotta think fast here. What you got, PJ?
All right. I guess he's gonna like introduce him or herself as one of Raz's friends.
All right. You walk up to the gate, and one of the Easterlings steps forward and accosts you in his tongue.
Oh dear.
He looks at your dumbfounded face for a moment, and he repeats what he just said. This time, the other one you notice has like his attention has like he's looking at you now, and he's starting to look at you. He's like,
Is there anything I could roll to see what try to understand what he was saying?
give me a lore test. Do you have folklore? Are you a wanderer by any chance?
Well, no, I made him out as a treasure hunter, but he is fair.
Then you don't have any idea what he's saying. Ewan.
I suggest playing coy and like covering, averting your face.
The old fan trick.
Okay, I'm going to try that. What would that be?
Give me a riddle roll.
14?
No, it's going to be 16. Your disguise is not great.
Hey.
Well, that's a little better.
All right, so you kind of pull out this little paper.
He is really bored.
You kind of, and the guard who was like, you kind of look at him and kind of like blush and kind of like fan yourself a little bit, and you see he kind of his face flushes a little bit, and he walks up to you, and you can't understand what he's saying, but you think he says to the other guard something to the effect of, "Here, I'll take this," and he starts talking to you. Sort of long, loquacious sentences, broad hand gestures.
As he is like, as he at like the perfect moment, like, you know, when he's like doing whatever, he's gonna try and like, him and the old lady is gonna try and go through while he's distracted with himself.
Oh, the old lady has totally ditched you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna try and go through and continue on to my destination.
All right. So you're just gonna try to rush past him.
Well,
You can't sneak away from him. You definitely, you were flirting with him. You've got his attention.
like
You brought this on yourself, man.
I did.
In so many ways.
I'm gonna try to make it to where I'm flattered by what he's saying, but like act like I need to continue on.
Okay, but you got to be a little more descriptive than that, PJ.
Oh no, I couldn't.
Oh, you silly man!
What would Rosa say?
I long for your touch.
If there weren't any names on that letter, you could just pass him the letter.
Written in the wrong language, though.
Oh, is it?
I mean, I'm assuming since PJ's character can't read Easterling.
But he's gonna like as he's like trying to flirt with him, he's gonna like act bashful at what he's saying, like turn red or flush and try to you said he has a fan or whatnot?
Sure.
Okay. Like try to cover his face with his fan while still eyeing him over it.
Uh-huh. So you're not trying to get away, you're trying to...
Well, I'm trying to get away, but I'm...
You're playing hard to get is what you're doing.
More or less.
All right. Give me another riddle roll.
10, 16?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sucks.
That is not...
You are like swinging. Your dice are all over the place.
You're going to end up having to punch this guy.
Okay. So, here's what happens. You kind of cover your face with your fan, and you're like, "Oh, stop, silly!" And you try to sort of like step past him to get the door, and as you do, he kind of like, because I mean you're dressed up like a serving girl, you know, and so he's and he's feeling pretty good. You're flirting with him. He's getting good vibes. So he kind of as you try to push past him, he kind of raises a hand, and suddenly all of the stuffing in your brassiere falls to the ground at your feet. And he looks down at like this pile of silk handkerchiefs and everything on the ground. And then he looks back up at you, and his eyes narrow for a moment, and he reaches for his sword. What you doing, PJ?
Well, sounds like we're going to have to abort this mission.
Metaphorically or like his actual sword?
His actual sword.
Okay.
Cheapers, man.
Wow. Wow. All right. So, you're running for it?
Yes. I'm going to have to run for it for the time being.
Give me an athletics roll.
Those lacy skirts. Well, I guess you got
Give me an
hair.
athletics roll, and yes, you've got tiny little silk shoes. Okay, with a great success, you are able to get clear of him as he raises the alarm. You hear loud shouting in Easterling as more guards pile out of the house, but you sort of, you dash down a side street, jump over a canal, and before too long, you find yourself somewhat breathless outside of the mercantile district. Unfortunately, this failed attempt to infiltrate Raza's father's house means that your courtship attempts this season are unsuccessful.
Really?
As yes, she is promptly whisked off to some location in the country, and her mate and her old serving maid is flogged.
Aw.
Oh.
All right.
That's your fault, PJ.
So,
Got beaten.
just so you know, I have a little D6 table of different clandestine courtship attempts.
You roll, the worse the ideas are.
What's that?
The lower that you roll on that d6, the worse the ideas are.
Oh no, all of the ideas are terrible. All right. So,
Man, that's a rough way to spend a fellowship phase.
sorry, buddy. I mean, you gotta strut it a little bit better, but like not so well. This is okay, so we're gonna do Wheel and Woe. Yeah, we can do one for you. So we'll do a Wheel and Woe for your previous year, PJ.
Cool.
And then we'll jump back forward in time and do Wheel and Woe for everyone else.
It's a D12, correct?
Mm. Mm, 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 mm,
Oh, great.
mm, 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 mm. Hey, you're rolling a Sauron. All right. You found that your time away from Lake Town has not served your reputation in the community. Could have something to do with the cross-dressing. Put that out there. You find it difficult to readjust to life in the city after a year of adventures and daring do, and the city people seem petty and small-minded. You treat them accordingly. You gain 1 point of shadow, and you see the cost to raise standing increased by your total shadow. So the next time you want to raise standing, the cost is increased by your total shadow.
Well, I just have one shadow right now, so.
Okay. Well, we can fix that. All right. So fast forwarding to the previous year, Voronway and Margood want you to give me D12 rolls for your Wheel and Woe table entry. That's really great, Margood. Okay.
This is a bad year.
Margood. Memories of the dragon haunt both your waking thoughts and your unquiet dreams. Her sighs, her malice, and the terror of her coming. You think of the companions you left behind, of the unblinking horror in the eyes of Gladwyn, the fair maiden of the woods, whom you left when you fled before the great monster. And you wonder if you will ever be able to forgive yourself for failing. you will add no points to the fellowship pool during the following adventuring year. Did you guys get all that? Okay.
Yeah.
Seemed like it might have locked up. Okay. All right. On the other hand, Voronway, you, Thranduil is aware of your efforts to save him during the previous year, at great danger to yourself and at a terrible cost to your companions. And I'll mention this in a minute. Thranduil does wake up, but I'll explain that in a minute. Although, because of the shadow of the wolf, which is you are not allowed to be admitted into the Elven King's halls at this time, he does reward you handsomely. You gain 1 standing and 6 treasure.
Nice.
Okay. So
What does your basic standing start at?
0.
Okay. And you said 6 treasure?
Yes. Okay. All right. So you're gonna have that stupid song in my head now. Thanks a lot, PJ.
You're welcome.
All right.
At the beginning, when you were talking about her terrible look and her girth and all that stuff, I thought maybe that was like the guard that PJ tried to flirt with. You probably felt that way too.
Sophie, give me a holding roll for Mar.
Oh.
D12. What'd you get?
Oh. Pretty good. I bet
Yeah.
that
The
gets us
absolute
up
best.
the way.
All right. Fortune Drake's the hero.
How hard?
So hard. Okay. The rating for the holding is permanently lowered by 1. So it goes from being a 5 to being a 4, which is good. The lower holding rating is, the better. And the population of the Fireheart mine increases to 320 dwarves.
And 300 is the threshold, right?
Yeah, 300 is the threshold. So from this point forward, Fireheart dwarves are a viable culture for new characters.
Yeah.
So I'll get those written. I'll finish writing that up this week. Cool.
So they can play for them for the last 2
Also,
sessions.
Margood, you have a cabin near Mountain Hall, so if you would like to, you can give me a D12 roll to see how it has fared during this year. All right, 3. Well, it's nothing bad, but nothing really good either. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah. By the way, the holding rating of the Fireheart mine is now considered to be opulent, by the way.
Well, cool.
Yeah. So
We just keep finding more Fireheart gems.
Yeah. Adding them to Mars Crown.
Oh, you think, Bobby, you've got enough?
all right. So, wounded, half mad, the Dragon of Mirkwood continues to make her way south through the land of the Woodmen, devastating the area around Woodman Town. Dozens of homesteads are destroyed and more than 100 woodmen slain before Prince Ingold manages to muster enough of the woodmen to drive off the great dragon with a hail of arrows and the light of the lamp of Balthy. She turns aside from the settlement, continuing to destroy root, tree, and branch until her trail eventually vanishes into the fens and marshes of southern Mirkwood.
So I suppose then Prince Ingold is now the hero of the day.
Word goes out that Prince Ingold is mustering his forces and intends to hunt the dragon during the following year. Margood and Voronway return from their disastrous battle with the dragon with a sample of the dragon's venom, which is enough for King Thranduil's apothecaries to concoct a remedy which heals the Elven King and brings him out of his slumber. Although he has not yet returned to full strength, already his power begins to flow once more over the Elf Path, and northern Mirkwood slowly becomes safe again for its denizens and travelers. There are rumors of orcs mustering in the Grey Mountains, increasing in numbers, that have not been seen since the Battle of Five Armies. The Grey Mountain narrows, ever safe at the best of times, have now become all but impassable for merchants. And it is in the summer of the year that each of our companions, this is Mirkwood, Alfrey the Fat?
Short.
Okay. Alfrey the Short, Voronway. I would love to, I was really hoping your epithet was going to be Voronway the Dragon Slayer, but maybe not yet.
Didn't Voronway, who did the final killing stroke on the spider?
Is that Mirkwood? I think Mirkwood got it.
Okay, because I was like, someone should be like the Unweaver or something now.
Unweaver, that's cool. I dig it.
That's cool.
Or Weaver's Bane would also be a good one.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Isolde of the Woodmen of Mountain Hall. Each of you find yourselves in the land of the Beornings, and specifically at the Hall of Beorn. Now, of all of you, only one of you has received a specific summons. Voronway, as you are, since you're no longer able to stay in the halls of the Elven King themselves, you've sort of taken up residence on the western eaves of the forest, and it is there that a dog bearing a letter for you came to you from Beorn's house, bearing a summons, a very short missive that essentially said, the Beorn wishes to see the skin changer and promises that you will learn something to your advantage. This is a very short, rather cryptic missive summoning you to the House of Beorn. The rest of you are here on various business. You might be passing this way in trade, especially Alfrey and possibly Isolde with him, if she's coming from the Fireheart as well. There's still trade. The east-west trade is really the kind of the foundation of the dwarven economy, and the dwarves are pretty much the only folk hardy enough to make the regular trips across the Misty Mountains from Eriador into Wilderland. So you could be on a trading mission. You could be just here resting and relaxing, or searching for answers, perhaps a way to get revenge on that pesky dragon. But for whatever reason, it's in the summer of the year 2974 of the Third Age of Middle-earth that you find yourselves in the House of Beorn, and that's about when you all meet up. So real quick, if you have ideas for why you might be here, and if you came with someone else, so for instance, perhaps Mirkwood came with Voronway, maybe they've been together during the winter. Why don't you just kind of give us a picture of kind of how you came in, and how you find yourself at the House of Beorn?
Well, I recently learned that Isolde, the niece of Warsong, was actually sent to the Fireheart mine to foster with Ongi, who I can only imagine was willing to do this only because Warsong asked him to do so. And probably found the extra lanterns and hunching slightly aggravating. But apparently she has been raised there in the Fireheart mine for the last 2 years, is what I'm given to understand. And recently has, I guess, Alfrey, having returned, probably as a favor to his uncle, has decided to take her back out into the world. Does that sound about right, Sophie?
Sure. Yeah, and maybe there's a trade thing as well. Like that would make sense too. And
yeah.
I think
If her family is at Mountain Hall, Beorn's house would be on the way back there as well.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what I was thinking. Like there was a trade thing, and they both volunteered for it.
Go get to see your family. Yeah.
Ongi would have sent Alfrey once he realized that Isolde was gonna go. Like, all right, you two go together. You keep an eye on each other. I don't know who's the bigger problem.
How do you spell that for my notes?
Isolda.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, you have to go out now. You can't be scared in here. Go be scared in the playroom.
And yet Marga is there with Veronway. He feels pretty guilty about the loss of all the other companions, and he feels that if there's some way that he can help accompany Veronway, and you know, if this is good news from Beorn, that he feels like it's penance in some small way for the people he had to leave behind to try and.
I'm glad that Margaret could add a little crushing guilt to everything else that he has going on.
Yeah, that seems accurate.
Yeah. Love those dice rolls.
Yep. And Solmander, other than your general apparent disregard for the pettiness of the men of Lake Town and your unluck in love, what brings you out this way? Meeting up with the group again, or
Does he know anybody in the group?
he knows Voronway. They fought in the war together, and he would know. He knows Margot as well.
That's probably the most likely reason, and or other than just to get away from Lake Town.
Yeah. He ran into that guard in the marketplace the other day, and then there was some really uncomfortable staring. And
did he waggle his eyebrows?
yeah, it's an awkward thing. Like, yeah. All right, so you find yourselves at the house of Beorn, and when you arrive, you find several pretty well-dressed Beornings, based on their furs, and some of them even have ornamentation, though Beornings don't usually go in for that sort of thing, but like gold or silver chains or arm rings and things like that. You would guess these people are chieftains or the headmen of various villages in the Anduin Vales. These are the people who have put themselves under Beorn's protection, his governance, and they're all sort of like one could almost say pensively lounging in the way that only Northmen can. Laying about, in kind of a sleepy, bearish sort of way, but also you're vaguely annoyed that you're having to wait. Kind of pensively lounging around the entrance to Beorn's hall. And food and drink are provided for them by many of Beorn's wonderful animals. Things are, and everything seems more or less at peace, but there's definitely something, and almost just kind of an unspoken thought hanging in the air when you arrive at the doors of the hall. And Voronway, as you sort of take a first step up there's about 6 large wooden steps. Even for an elf, right? You're relatively tall. You still have to really raise your feet up to make it up these huge steps, which Beorn carved himself a long time before there was a settlement here. As you place your foot on the first step, the doors of the hall open, and you see an extremely beautiful woman with dark jet black hair,
I'm gonna ask about this.
white linen clothing, standing in the doorway. And she smiles at you and beckons with a hand, and she says, "I see you've all arrived. Come in. We have much to discuss." I'm gonna get some water. Commercial break.
Cool.
He's got a wife, but no, I don't remember what she's supposed to look like.
Anyone with dark hair, I'm automatically suspicious of.
I know.
So like 80% of
Right.
everybody.
Yep. Yep. I'm wondering if like the werewolf is getting summoned to things like all along. Did all of the other werewolves get summoned places, or has that changed? Because the last two company werewolves have seemed to get some attention.
Wait, so how many company werewolves did we have? There
The
was
two, right?
Hildewara, but was there someone before her?
No, you
Nope.
and
You and
Hildewara.
Hildewara.
And people just automatically know that whoever's the werewolf is the werewolf. So, like, was that always the case? Did you just have to have this special?
It's my amazing six-pack that everyone sees.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you sparkle.
You have a sort of primal energy, sort of feral attraction.
Yeah.
All right. So she says,
I'm sorry, Stephanie Meyer has ruined werewolves, and I am gonna make sure that I spread that onto you.
passing it on like the curse of the werewolf.
Yep.
I guess it was the entire sparkle.
So she says, good, you've all arrived. Come in. We have much to discuss. And beckoning with her hand, she leads you into the hall.
Alfrey scoops up a handful of whatever was being served outside that takes with him.
Okay, so you scoop
Munches
up,
it away.
you kind of, I'm so sorry, but because you're Alfrey, you kind of see a dog walking past you on two legs with a plate in his paws, and you kind of reach out and snatch something off the plate and come away with just like the stickiest chunk of raw honeycomb.
Excellent.
And it's just like, by the time Alfrey, of course, like as you're doing this, you're trying to get up these huge stairs, which are tall even for very. And so you're sort of like pulling yourself up, and you're Alfrey the Short, right? So you're sort of pulling yourself up on your elbows, up each step, and the honeycomb is just like, first it's one hand, then it's the other, and then it's starting to drench down, your forearms. And then at one point you sort of stumble a little bit, and it kind of gets all over your beard and starts like matting your beard.
Isolde is giving him a hand up, for the record.
By the time Alfrey makes it to the top, not only is he covered in honey, but he's gotten a fair amount of it on Isolde. And of course, as soon as the hall doors open, the smell of food just wafts over you, and you realize
I could have just waited.
you realize you could have literally waited 30 seconds.
Well, this is the dwarf who also had to spend time cleaning up after himself in Lake Town. Scrubbing
It's fair.
Deal, but yeah, that was when he got fined for public urination. All right, so this giant sticky ball of honeycomb that is Alfred the Dwarf, along with the rest of you, reach the top of the stairs, and as you enter through the large double doors of Beorn's hall, you see several of the other dogs are loading down the table with trays of food, not just the food that Beorn eats, Beorn being a vegetarian, right, doesn't eat cooked animals, but there's also a decent amount of like bread, honey cakes, milk, even like some poultry, which you get the sense is probably like here for your benefit, like fish and things like that. No four-footed animals, but there are meats of other kinds also laid out on the table. And the woman dressed in linen takes her seat at the head of the table and she says, "Have a seat. I'm sure you're all quite thirsty and hungry from your trip."
Isolde nods and takes a seat, and are there napkins?
No.
Okay. Well, she's gonna be trying to clean her fingers off, but yeah.
Do we see Beorn anywhere around?
You do not.
Margaret whispers to Voronway, "Is this what you were expecting?"
I truly did not know what to expect.
Have we not met them? Like, we just all happened to show up at the same time?
Yeah, you just all kind of got here about the same time.
Isolde's going to lean over to the dwarf, or the elf. I'm Isolde. And she's like, still. You clean her fingers.
I assume you're not usually this sticky. My name is Veronway.
That's the best first line. Like, "Hi, I'm sure you're not usually this sticky."
She didn't offer to shake her hand. Typically no, but you'd actually be surprised at how often it happens.
She's an honorary dwarf. She's been living in the Fireheart for years now.
Just 2. And she has
years.
She has this mass of red hair that is like braided and has like metal beads in it in kind of a dwarven style. Definitely more of an impression of dwarf than woodman.
You can tell she's not actually a dwarf because she's got the beard on the wrong side of her head.
Well, I would hope that there were other clues to that besides the beard being backwards.
Yes, you are rather a bit more. You're a bit taller than most dwarves I've met.
It's a funny old world. You'd be surprised. I'm actually called Offrey the Short.
No one looks surprised. There is also like a much higher stool than usual set out for you, as well as like another little stepping stool, so you can sort of step up into it and then get up onto the higher stool, sort of sit at eye level with everyone else at the table.
That was kind of them.
Isolde turns to Margaret.
Almost as though they knew you were coming.
Do what? Oh, yes. And you.
I am Margaret.
You look familiar to me.
Do I?
This is my friend Margaret.
You know Warsong, right?
Oh yes, I know Warsong.
Oh, she's my aunt. You must have been visiting her one day, and I saw you.
We stole the crown, that one crown, the horn crown thingy, from Ormond together.
Well, I couldn't forget you, Offrey. I do not recall meeting Isolde.
No, she wasn't there.
Okay.
But as I recall, you were in the stables releasing the demon horse that now haunts the hills of Dale.
Yes, that was quite an evening. I've still got my poop knife.
Well, even horses and poop knives. This is a story that you really must regale me with some night.
Isolde was surprised.
But do anybody know what happened to that demon horse?
I know what happened.
Well, of course you do.
Does anybody else at the table know what happened to the demon horse?
It's all right. It's future players' problems. Don't worry about it.
Maybe something that we discover when we trigger the hunt or something.
Probably.
Yeah, the demon horse comes back. He's currently hanging out at the Denver airport.
It's true. It's true.
You guys told me that the guy that someone died making that stupid
The original
statue.
artist, it fell on him and killed him, yeah. And then his son completed it and added the glowing eyes and put it up. Yeah,
I didn't know this was an actual thing.
Yes,
it is, yeah.
I've seen it before.
It's
There's a lot of weird stuff at
statue
the Denver
that's
airport.
right outside the Denver airport. It's a rearing horse, and it's got these glowing red eyes, so it looks pretty scary.
Yeah, the Denver airport's messed up.
There's all sorts of like patterns and codes and things that nobody's quite figured out yet.
Well, I see you're
Well,
all acquainted.
And forgive my impertinence, but I don't believe that we have met.
No, you're quite correct. We haven't yet met. My name is Ingrid. I am Master Beorn's wife.
Isolde dips her head.
Welcome to my home. I regret that my lord is not here to greet you himself, but he is away hunting. He should return soon. Until then, I would like very much to get acquainted with the 5 of you.
Just the 5 of us?
It's funny you say that, Beorn Way. There, at this point, you do see a young. How old is he now? You do see a boy of about 7 kind of walk in. He's like 7, but he's about, based on just purely at his height, you would guess he was more like 10. Very tall, lanky boy, sandy blonde hair, fair skin, very wide, dark eyes, like his mother's. And he sort of steps up behind her and kind of stares at all of you, but doesn't say anything.
Did they get married that long ago? Wow. Has been some time.
So I'm going to say, we had assumed that Beorn had invited us here, but I'm beginning to wonder if perhaps you were the one behind this meeting.
It is true that you received my summons, specifically Skin Changer. As for the rest of you, your fate has brought you here at this hour for a particular purpose, which I hope will become clear to you before this evening's ended. Now.
I think, he leans over to Isolde, I think we're going to have a murder mystery party. I've heard this is the sort of thing they do in Dale.
Quench your thirst, and perhaps she motions to one of the dogs, a basin of water for the dwarf to bathe his head in. Now, as I said, fate has brought each of you here for a great task. My husband and lord is about to undertake a journey. It will be long, it will be fraught with peril, and it may be his last. He will need companions for this journey, especially if he is to return to lead our people. It is ordained that these companions should represent the free peoples of Wilderland. Elf, she motions you Voron way. Dwarf, she looks at you, Alfrey, smiles a little. The woodmen and the men of Dale and Lake Town all are represented here. He will need companions who can stand beside him and who have not become who have not been overcome by the despair of the dark times which have fallen upon Wilderland. Now, if you are to survive this journey, you must know yourself and you must know each other. And you must know what you fear. You must know what you love. And you must know what above all other things you desire. So, she leans back a bit. It's early in the evening. There's a fire upon the hearth. There is food upon the table. There is mead, the nectar of poetry flowing in your bowls. Tell me, Master Dwarf, whom do you love?
Oh, well, who do I love? Well, I suppose in the dwarvish sense of the term, I love the king of Erebor, but also he was my first king, but now I am sworn to my uncle, who is not a king, but is mostly a king in the Fireheart, and he has been very good to me and kind to me and made me his heir. So I suppose I love my uncle.
And what do you fear, Alfrey, who loves his uncle?
Well, I suppose I fear letting him down, and well, all of the Grey Mountain Dwarves. Since you see, my uncle is the last Grey Mountain Dwarf, and this is his ex. He's very, very fine and legendary ex, and if I was to be dead, there would not really be any more Grey Mountain Dwarves at all, anywhere in the whole wide world. They all sort of died, you see.
And then, is that what you desire above all things, to see your people restored?
Oh, well, so that's the funny thing. They're more Ongly's people than my people. I'm only like an 8th Grey Mountain Dwarf. But I guess I'm heir to the last Grey Mountain Dwarf, so that makes me mostly a Grey Mountain Dwarf now. So I don't know. I don't really think there's any chance that Grey Mountain Dwarves are ever coming back. So I guess I'm here just to make sure that the Fireheart Dwarves are represented.
I did not ask what it is you think is likely, or what it is you think you're here to do.
Well, I thought I was here on a merchant trip.
If you would accompany Beorn on this journey, which will surely be a greater deed than has been accomplished by any dwarf in this age of the world.
Well, that's including the whole smoke thing?
You must know who you are. What is it that you desire above all things?
Well, I suppose I desire above all things to bring glory to the Fireheart. Is it not the right answer?
Very well, Alfred the Short. She kind of leans forward, peers at you through the smoke of the fire, the rising steam of one of the dishes on the table. I pray that you find what it is you seek. If your metal is strong, if you prove yourself in the moment of crisis, you will bring such glory to the Fireheart. You will see things as no dwarf in this or any other age of Middle-earth has seen, not since the breaking of the world. She leans back. Now then. She turns to you, Isolde. What about you, little bird of the wood and the rocks? You are young to be undertaking a mission such as this, and yet fate has brought you to my door. So I must ask, whom do you love?
Well, I love my mother and my brother. They're all that's left to me after the plague.
And what do you desire for them or for you above all other things? If you could have any treasure of the dwarven kings of old, if you could have your desire brought back to you from the grip of death itself, for what would you ask?
But you're offering something I can't have. I'd bring my father back.
The place that you are going, many desires will reveal themselves to you. Many things that you thought impossible will unfold before you. In that moment, you must choose what is true and what is merely smoke blowing on the breeze.
How do I know? What is the difference between what is true and what is smoke? I never got to say goodbye.
Do not trust to easy paths. Which way seems costliest is like to be truest. And what is it, little bird of the rock and wood? What is it that you fear? What fear would overmaster you and prove you false in the moment of testing?
What was the last thing?
What do you fear?
I don't want to be forgotten.
Ah, fame, yes. It does. Does weigh heavily upon men's minds, even more than gold. And it's soul murder, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
She looks in your eyes and can see everything you've done.
That's something you desire, is there not? A love? Something out of your grasp?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's a Easterling girl. Her name is Raza. I fear mostly due to my well, this past year certainly hasn't helped anything. But due to my affiliation with Lord Ormander, at least her father has not taken a liking to me. Of course, I left him once I found out about the Easterlings being kicked out of Dale. But more or less, we have had a secret relationship, and it went south this past year.
And what ending do you desire for this relationship? Would you take this girl from her parents, from her home, from her culture, all to satisfy your desire for her? I see that you would. As Ingrid continues to talk in this sort of low, kind of silky voice, the fragrant wood in the fireplace hearth, the heady mead from Beorn's meaderies, all begins to have its effect as you find your minds opened, your tongues loosened, and with half-closed eyes, you find yourself answering the woman's questions. And what about you, Margood? What do you want?
You asked.
That is ahead of you. The desires of your heart might betray you, or they might lead you true. What is your desire?
Your three questions are intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
My desire is to see that the legends are true and that evil will be unmade, and that I would get the chance to be with my wife and my child again.
But you fear that it will not be so.
I fear that their memory is gone forever. And I fear that I will grow old and have a peaceful life, laying awake every night, racking my brain, trying to come up with what their names were. Even their memory has been stolen.
And so you desire not that the memory is returned, but that evil is set to right. But which evil? The evil that has been done to you? Or the evil which afflicts us all? Often I have found when people speak of the evil of the world, what they really have in mind is their own suffering. But most of them are not as well traveled as you are.
One can speak of an entire mountain, but yet their feet only touch it in one place.
Very well. As it happens, I find your metaphor to be most apt for the current situation. And this brings us at last to the most interesting of all my guests, the skin changer. Tell me, Beorn, what do you desire?
Desire that when it comes to be my time to stand against the evil, the shadow, I do not back down, that I do not choose the easy way out. But I make my life count. Even if it is in the counting, I should lose it.
And is that what you fear too? That you will fail in the test? That perhaps you have already failed in the test? The spirit of evil which broods over you has already won. Does it not haunt your dream?
I don't need to say anything since you've read me so well.
A third question remains, Skin Changer. Even solitaries living out in the wood, exiled from the halls of their kin, even such as you, must have someone you love, someone you would not see hurt or taken away from you, someone you would protect even from yourself.
Speak of someone, I would say my aunt, Kelly Mirith. who somewhat of a legend and chose me. Not quite sure why, not sure what she saw in me. But yes, if we must say someone, I would name her. But you've asked all these others what they love. And I would say I love this Middle Earth, and I do not want to see it fall under the shadow.
Very well. She leans back in her seat. Her eyes suddenly grow lighter. She laughs a bit and drains off the last of a bowl of mead. Says, well, I believe that will be the master of the house arriving. Just at that moment, the great doors at the far end of the hall open just wide enough to admit the hulking frame of Beorn. But the Beorn that enters is not the Beorn that any of you have seen, and many of you have perhaps. Margaret definitely, Alfred probably, Vornway probably as well, and possibly even Isolde as you pass through this way. Many of you have seen Beorn or at least heard stories. And so you do not expect the stooped man. His frame still large, but all the power gone out of it. Head, a shock of white hair, beard, a snowy white mane, reaching almost to his belt. Who steps in through the door and closes it against the cold night. He raises his head and grunts as he enters the hall, eyes fixed on Ingrid. As she steps forward, bearing a large bowl of mead in both hands. She brings to him, and as he drains it, she says, now, my husband, your companions have come, and your liege men and hearth heroes are gathered outside to wait your word. All is prepared as you have commanded, and as was ordained of old. The skin changer is here, and he is ready to follow where you will lead. And that's where we're going to stop tonight. All right.
Well then.
We don't know anything.
I know, right?
That I'm like some sort of hero.
Or like the sacrificial lamb. It's hard to tell.
All right, so we will pick up.
Isolde is down. This is good. This is very good. This is definitely good.
Yeah. Isolde, this will definitely be a good story to tell your aunt if you ever see her again.
Yep.
Whoa.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks everyone for playing. PJ, thank you for cross-dressing. And Hal will never stop talking about that, and you'll never live it down. I'm very excited about that part of the whole situation.
The series of eyes and Gandalfs were just fantastic.
That was amazing.
It was fantastic. So good. All right, guys. Well, in 2 weeks, we'll pick this up again, and we'll see where you're going with Beorn and what you're doing. And if you guys want to make insight rolls on his weird wife and things like that, you know, just normal stuff.
Do you get any XP for role playing?
Yes, you guys all get 1 XP for tonight. Margaret gets an extra XP for his sweet mountain metaphor, which I really dug.
Yeah, that was actually fantastic. His whole speech there was pretty amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I enjoyed this a lot. Thank you, guys. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Baby character.
All right, bye, everyone.
What you got, Augusta?
Take care, y'all.
I say goodbye.
Oh, okay. All right. See you guys.
Bye.